News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. There's your closing bell for this Tuesday on Wall Street, where Treasuries climbed after a weaker than expected retail sales number reinforced the case for the Fed to cut interest rates this year. And a new report from the New York Fed shows delinquency rates on mortgages, credit cards, and other loans rose 4.8% at the end of last year. That was the highest in almost a decade. And we bring you the closing numbers each day here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 down 23 points, NASDAQ down 136 points. The Dow gained 52 points, the 10-year Treasury yield at 4.13%, and the 2-year yield at 3.44%. Bitcoin's slide continues. It is down another 2.3%, now at less than $69,000. The latest now in the case of Nancy Guthrie. The FBI has released images of a possible suspect tied to the 84-year-old's disappearance, who went missing from her home near Tucson, Arizona. FBI Director Kash Patel posted on X that for the past 8 days, the agency and Pima County Sheriff's Department have worked together to recover images and video footage that may have been lost or corrupted. Guthrie was reported missing February 1st. Authorities believe she was taken against her will. The latest now in the Epstein files fallout. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says he found about 10 emails connecting him with Epstein over a 14-year period after searching through files released by the Justice Department from its Epstein investigation.
I did not have any relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person.
Lutnick also says he did visit Jeffrey Epstein's private island. He says that happened back in 2012 with his wife and children, years after he had said he'd cut ties with Epstein. Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen.
This visit took place after he'd been convicted, right? I mean, you made a very big point of saying that you sensed that this was a bad person in 2005. And then, of course, in 2008, he was convicted. And yet you went and had this trip and other interactions.
Lutnick is facing calls to resign over his relationship with Epstein, which recent files show was more extensive than he had revealed. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says President Trump fully supports Lutnick amid questions regarding his relationship with Epstein.
Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary.
The FBI says back in 2006, Donald Trump himself talked with Palm Beach police about Epstein's inappropriate activities with teenagers. The Miami Herald reports in July of that year, as Epstein's criminal sex charge became known to the public, Trump spoke to Michael Reeder, the chief of police in Palm Beach at the time, about what Epstein was up to. The information contradicts what Trump had publicly said about Epstein's crimes and when he knew about them. The leaders of 3 major immigration agencies, ICE, Customs and Border Protection, and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, testified today before the House Homeland Security Committee on the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. ICE Acting Director Todd Lyon says his agents have come under attack for enforcing the immigration laws that Congress enacted.
We are facing the deadliest operating environment in our agency's history. In fiscal year 2025, death threats against ICE personnel increased more than 8,000%. Assaults on officers have skyrocketed over 1,400%.
The committee's ranking member, Democrat Benny Thompson, says the crackdown has caused chaos.
They are reckless, creating chaos in our communities, terrorizing adults and children alike, and undermining our moral authority as a nation of liberty and rule of law.
Democrats have said they will not support any more funding for the Department of Homeland Security unless it imposes new limits on federal immigration agents. The deadline for those talks is Friday. The board of Warner Brothers Discovery says it will carefully review and consider the latest offer from Paramount, but is not modifying its recommendation regarding the Netflix merger. Paramount will cover the termination fee Warner Brothers will have to pay Netflix and will backstop a Warner Brothers debt refinancing and pay any associated fees. Geetha Raghunathan with Bloomberg Intelligence says they did stop short of raising the offer itself.
I think this is just Paramount exhausting all of its options before, they actually raise the bid. But in my mind, what this signals is that they are willing to kind of go back to the table and probably raise that bid.
Paramount's proxy bid expires February 20th. Dallas Fed President Lori Logan says she's hopeful inflation will continue to come down, though it would take material weakness in the labor market for her to support any more interest rate cuts.
We'll learn in coming months whether inflation is coming down to our target and whether the labor market will remain stable. If so, this would tell me that our current policy stance is appropriate and that no further rate cuts are needed to achieve our dual mandate goals.
Logan gave prepared remarks for an event in Austin, Texas. Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammack says interest rates could be on an extended hold while officials evaluate incoming economic data.
Based on my forecast, we could be on hold for quite some time.
And Hammack says she's open to raising rates if necessary, emphasizing that officials should be flexible with their response if the economy does not behave as expected. The Winter Olympic Games are underway in Italy. Topping the leaderboard, Norway has a total of 12 medals so far. Italy has 11, Japan with 8, and the U.S. has 7 medals so far. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. This is Bloomberg.